All right, y'all, it's time to discuss this. Y'all got to excuse my background back there. I was working on some materials here in my shop. Okay, well, let's go ahead and talk about this mistrial that Sean P. Diddy Combs, the diddler, man, I can't hardly talk, I'm so pissed, that his defense team went and electronically filed today, June 7th, for a mistrial. And I'm gonna read what they're saying the cause and concern for this mistrial is. See, here's the thing. He's talking about the prosecution is doubling down. Well, now he's doubling down because he's doubling down. They're doubling down because the judge has already addressed some of this stuff already that he included inside this mistrial as well. But I'm going to break down the actual mistrial and tell y'all what he's trying to do. I mean, he is pulling out all the freaking stops here because let me tell y'all what is happening. They're showing their cards. They're already letting you know they cannot win this case for their client and that their client is about to do some serious time. So the only thing they can do, like I have said in previous videos, is try to push for a mistrial. So they're absolutely positively looking for absolutely anything they can. And if they can't find nothing, they're going to try to twist stuff up and make it seem like it's something that it isn't. So as we already know, they done painted the picture that everybody is lying and nobody is credible but P. Diddy, Puffy, the diddler. Sean Puffy Combs, who has all this influence. Now, if they allow him to get away with this, not only are you showing the American people that this man, rightfully so, these people were scared to say absolutely anything, but you're also showing the American people that money can buy you absolutely anything, and that the powers that be has all the control. And to heck with our justice system, because what they're doing is not ethnically right. We're going to talk about ethnics. Let's talk about his defense team, that what they're doing. They know good and well that he cannot win this case. They cannot win this case. I don't care what type of dream team you put together. It's evident you cannot win this case by doing the right thing. You all want to point out that everybody else's credibility is wrong and only Puff Daddy, P. Diddy, the diddler, Pimp Daddy, he and only he is correct. When you know this man is lying, you know he's lying. I know he done paid you and you got to represent him, but you got to do it ethnically the right way. And this right here just showed all your cards right up front. You're talking about everybody else's testimony, including the prosecution. Now, come on. You going after the prosecution saying that they're equally as wrong and they're forcing a lie and that you're challenging their ethnics on this case when your ethnics on this case has been off the freaking radar from day one. I've always said this judge had to get a hold of his courtroom because his courtroom was being out of control. He was allowing too much stuff to go down inside his courtroom that would not be allowed anywhere. So you know it shouldn't be happening in the federal government, a federal government trial. Too much stuff was happening. I wouldn't be surprised if the lady that ran in there hollering about they're laughing at your name, at your legacy, they laughing at your legacy, wasn't planted by them as another way of trying to get a mistrial. That's why when I was on Law and Crime Network and we was on there live and I asked that panel of attorneys, I asked them another question. Do you feel they're still going to try to push through with this mistrial? Now, that particular question didn't get answered, but I knew it. I knew that's where they were going because they have nothing to protect their client. All this gaslighting that they're doing on that stand and cross-examining, not on the stand, but cross-examining these witnesses is because they are trying to keep you from hearing the real thing. Now, the victim's going to show what they did to them, but the RICO charges is going to be proven by these other witnesses that are to come, the one that helped him. See, I know when it comes to immunity, the defense team needed, the prosecution needed a lot of these testimonies in order to prove their case. But from what I am seeing, you gave out way too many immunities. A lot of these people you did not have to give immunity to, and you could have proven your case without a lot of them. Some of them, why did you even do it? Why did you offer them immunity? You should have literally got every last one of them from committing crimes that they shouldn't have done. For the ones that were helping and participating. Y'all want to know why KK has not yet flipped for the state and have not yet asked for immunity? Because they done sold her the pipe dream that they're going to get the case thrown out. And we're going to dabble into that as well. What happens if this case gets on a mistrial? But that's why she's not doing it. That's why she's not talking, because she's trying to hold out to the last possible minute just in case they're able to pull off this debacle of a mistrial. They keep trying to do ethnically what is not right. Everybody is a liar. Everybody. Cassidy is a liar. Mia is a liar. Brianna is a liar. Jane Doe is a liar. Dawn is a liar. Cuddy is a liar. I mean, everybody's a liar, but your client is the only one that is telling the truth. And then you try to say when he's, everybody proving he is, you try to hold on to the fact because he was on drugs. He was on drugs. His judgment, well, maybe he might be under the influence, as if one, doing drugs is legal in the United States, but two, they all were. So if you could give a pass for him, you could surely give a pass for them, because every last one of them was doing it. And I'm not saying Kid Cudi, but I'm talking about every last one of these people that was inside these old freak offs, aka hotel nights, whatever you want to call them. Okay, all of them were doing drugs. The people that was in his apartment were all doing drugs. So if you want to give him a pass, you got to give every last one of them a pass as well. So let's just cut this foolishness out and see it for what it is. Stop trying to let this man gaslight this courtroom and gaslight this attorney, because see, from day one, when P. Diddy was doing all that, making eye contact with the jury, he's been doing that from day one. It should have been shut down. It should not have been allowed to happen. A lot of things has been going up under the radar when it comes to this trial. What he's trying to do is get this case tossed out for a mistrial, because if they do that, don't mean that he can't get convicted on these RICO charges. But what it does mean is that they're going to have a new judge and a new jury. They're going to have to go through this whole process over again. And it also gives the defense an opportunity, because they already know what the prosecution is going to come at them at. They're going to try to knock every kind of hole into any kind of testimony if this mistrial happen, and they probably even try to get him out of jail temporarily. Now, what y'all think gonna happen for a man this powerful if he happens to get out of jail before you can get it back into back to court for a regular trial? He's going to go up missing. Let's not act stupid here. Let's not be dumb. The writing is on the wall. Also, what is going to happen in the mistrial is they're going to ask for a change of venue, meaning that it's probably 9 out of 10 not going to be held in New York, but it can be held in any one of the other states that these crimes have been committed in. Los Angeles, Florida, okay, which is my home state. They can take it anywhere for a new jury. Another possibility, because of a new set of eyes. But here's the thing, this jury might not be allowed to look at it, but the whole world is looking at this trial. So how are you going to find somebody that didn't see everything up until this point? It's darn near impossible for that to happen. So I pray to the good Lord up above that this judge see through this and kick this out and give them a stern warning. Now, he even made a comment about it constantly kept adding for sidebars. Sir, did you not call for sidebars? Did your defense team not keep objection, Your Honor, sidebar, Your Honor? Were y'all not doing it? But it's okay for y'all to do everything, but it's not okay for the prosecution when they're clearly proving their case. Here's the thing. They don't want those other witnesses to come out. They don't want the employees to have their testimony told, because it's going to, the RICO charges are already been proven. It's just going to solidify everything. It's going to be so tight. It ain't no coming back from it. They already know that their case is done. The one thing they had, the Hail Mary that they was hoping for, is the mistrial. They have shown their hands with this when the judge clearly told them from that first incident when they were trying to say that they painted the picture in the jury's mind that he paid somebody and he had somebody on the police department working on his behalf. We want to go ahead and do a mistrial. Okay. The judge instructed them to disregard that part or whatever has been said and give them stern instructions. They cannot use that in their final decision. Let's carry on. You're going to put that back into this mistrial pleading. Let's go ahead and read this, y'all, because this is something else. And you'll see me looking over here because I'm trying to read this buffoonery that they filed on a Saturday, knowing good and well that no judge is going, he probably get notification that it was filed, because even though it was filed electronically, they still, if they're connected to that case, they still going to get a notification of it. He can go in there and look at it if he wants to, but he can't really address it unless they have an emergency hearing of some sort until Monday, right? Which is going to delay everything. You know, they still haven't finished up with Jane yet, okay? So this right here is really pissing me off. I mean, I love law, y'all. Y'all know law is something that I love. But the one thing I hate about the law is the way these shiesty behind attorneys that are willing to do whatever just to try to prove their client's innocent and get a case won for their client. And it should not be that way. You are to represent them to the fullest. When you hire an attorney, it is in your best interest to tell your attorney everything, so that way they can work around whatever they need to far as the law. But do so without lying themselves. Do so without breaking laws themselves. When an attorney takes a route of being undermined, you're trying to undermine the prosecution, sir. You're trying to undermine them, calling them liars on top of every witness. You are in the wrong. Y'all are in the wrong. I mean, they done tried every goddamn trick in the book, far as I'm concerned, except for the one trick I'm waiting on, where they just go, Your Honor, I feel like we didn't represent him, represent our client in the best interest that we could, and for it would be unjust for our client, we asked for a mistrial so he can get representation that can really help. I'm almost wondering if he didn't even put that in their minds already to say, I don't give a darn what you got to do to get me up out of here. Whether or not you have to do sometime your darn self. Get me up out of here. I'm just, y'all, this is really pissing me off. Because like I said, I love law, but I hate the little antics that they do behind the scenes in order to get whatever they, especially when you got people that don't care, especially when you have people that all they see is money versus justice. It's a negative side to the law. Over and over. Hell, we living it with our own goddamn president. The stuff that he was allowed to do. I mean, I know this ain't about the case, but it really ties into it all. How we will overlook so much just to get the people you want, the people with the power, the people with the money, to get them out of stuff when the victims had to endure whatever they had to endure. And that's wrong. It's up to this jury to decide whether or not they're telling the truth or not telling the truth. Now, for their benefit, it is absolutely positively crazy for anybody that took an immunity to tell a lie on that stand, because not only does that mean you can get more time than you probably would initially got if you just said I plead the fifth and just let them find you out however they could, versus now you're going to get charged with whatever it was that it was initially going to charge you with, and on top of it, they're going to charge you with perjury and all the other stuff that they done figured out from this thing. It makes absolutely no sense for anybody to get on this stand and lie. It makes absolutely no sense if they have immunity. It will be, you will be a dumb behind to do that. It will be better for you to say, I don't recall, or maybe my memory's a little bit fuzzy, than just to outright lie on that stand once you put your John Hancock on that immunity agreement. I digress. Let's get to what these clowns, I'm sorry, I mean, these attorneys are saying. This is really pissing me off. Okay, read United States versus Cone. Dear Judge Ramington, I hope I'm saying his name right. Your Honor, sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. You happen to see this. The defense respectfully submit this letter in support of its renewed, meaning he tried this already, renewed motion for a mistrial based on the misconduct. When the introduction of perjury testimony resulted in a criminal conviction and the prosecution knew or should have known of the perjury. So they can read into the minds of anybody that's just going to outright lie. If they did lie, which they didn't lie, but okay. So you trying to say they should have known, they knew, or they should have known. So you're trying to squeeze it up to no matter how you look at this, they're in the wrong. Whether or not they knew it or they didn't know it, they should have known it. This is a bunch of crap. Okay. The conviction must be set aside if there is any reasonable likelihood that the false testimony should have affected the judgment of the jury. When attorneys do that and they be like, when they make a mistake, well, I made a mistake, Your Honor. But when somebody else does, then all else is out the door. Okay? All else is out the door because we need you gone. But for me, I get a slide. Man, whatever. This is a bunch of crap. And I hope once the judge read this first line, he just tosses it to the side and say, denied. Right? Dismissed. All right. However you want to word it. Okay. So he goes on to cite a whole bunch of different sites of United States versus Wallace, that was done in 1991, according to the United States versus Wallace. And there's a lot of other statutes and citations that are put on here so that you can kind of find the actual case. But the state versus Wallace in 2018. Moreover, the prosecutor knowingly use of purged testimony can violate the due process clause, even if it only undermines a witness credibility, meaning that it's unjust and unfair, even if it undermines their credit, even if it's just seriously their credibility. For my client, he won't get his due process in court just because of whoever witness that you put on the stand. Credibility is in question. Isn't that what the jury is to decide, whether or not they're being completely honest or not? Because if that was the case, what would be the point of even needing a jury? If everything everybody is saying is 100% correct, then as soon as somebody say that you're guilty, then just go send them off to jail. So that right there is just absolutely dumbfounded. Okay. The United States versus Chromite, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, in 2013, quoting United States versus Aguirre in 1976. As the Supreme Court has explained, a lie is a lie. And we so true about that. No matter what its subject and if it is in any way relevant to the case. The district attorney has a responsibility and the duty to correct what he knows to be false and to elicit the truth. So let's read that again. The attorney has the responsibility and the duty to correct what he knows to be false and to elicit the truth. Napier versus Illinois, 1959. Emphasis added on this case, right? Basically what he's saying that If it's a lie and the district attorney knows that it's a lie, it's his responsibility to correct that lie on the stand at that point. But it's also your responsibility, if you thought it was a lie, to say, what? Objection, Your Honor. Okay, so why wasn't all this done at that point if that was the case, sir? Okay, and if you did do it at that time and it got what? Overruled. Okay. The judge would address it. If the judge agreed with you, he would have told him to redirect that question and do it the correct way, or he would have just let it stand. Okay? Sustain. Okay. This is pissing me off. It really is, y'all. As explained below, in the trial, the government has presented testimony that it knew or should have known was material false related to the allegations that Mr. Combs dangled Brianna Bongolian from the balcony of Cassidy Ventura's apartment in September 2016. According to avoid an unfair conviction in this case, the court shall grant a mistrial. This gaslighting statement right here. According to avoid an unfair conviction in this case. That right there showed you they already know they cannot win this case. And so they're making up a bogus motion to get it dismissed. The government contends the alleged balcony incident is relevant because it shows Mr. Combs' violence directed not only to Mrs. Ventura, but to the other people around Mrs. Ventura. She is aware. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm darn near laughing at this because that's laughable. The government contends the alleged balcony incident is relevant because it shows Mr. Combs' violence directed not only to Miss Ventura, but to the other people around Miss Ventura. This is the part that's funny to me. She is aware of the violence. And because of her awareness, it goes into coercion. Let me tell you what they're saying. So basically it's saying because Mrs. Bonagolin know that P. Diddy has a violent side to her and she placed herself in that situation to go over there to be with her friend in his presence, then she is coercing him to do something to her. What about him just controlling himself? What about him knowing what is right and what is wrong and what he should and should not do? Not that the victim is coercing him to act violent against her because of his violent tendencies. See, that statement alone basically tells you, y'all know y'all clients got some serious violent issues that he allows, that he makes, not just allow, but he makes and forces his employees to carry out orders from him to help him to accomplish this. RICO. Because you need no organization in a patterned fashion to do this. So that statement alone shows y'all already know he's guilty of it. Because if a victim should know this, then clearly y'all know he's already he's going to get convicted on these RICO charges. That's the part that is just completely laughable to me. The incident, as alleged, is disturbing and a powerful evidence, and the government has used to depict Mr. Combs in an extremely negative light. Angry and dangerous man who terrified Miss Ventura and her friends. Well, what would you call this, sir? If you would call this a nice, caring man that make all these women do all these crazy behind things and set people's cars on fire, a just and innocent man, and y'all just know he got an issue, just don't be around him, because you just simply being around him will cause him to do these things to you. Are y'all crazy? Are y'all crazy? Somebody help me out here. Are y'all crazy? The prosecutor elicited evidence about the allegations from both Mrs. Ventura and Mrs. Bonagolian that is demonstrably false in key respect. They then doubled down, using this false testimony to obtain a ruling, admitting inadmissible hearsay evidence about it as well, all to present a false narrative to the jury. Basically, they're saying on this that both Ventura and Miss Bonagolian both lied and co-conspired together to come up with this story about P. Diddy holding her over the balcony. And then the prosecution doubled down with it by carrying forth the lie. So this is the claim that they're making. Okay. Listening testimony from Mrs. Ventura about the allegations that cannot be true. Miss Ventura said she actually saw Mr. Combs holding Mrs. Bonagolian over the balcony railing. And then they quote her saying, "I saw him bring her back over the railing of the balcony and then threw her into the patio furniture." Yet the prosecutors knew she had not actually saw or seen what she described because they had it in their possession, a text conversation demonstrating that Mrs. Ventura was told about the alleged incident by another unidentified person. Then they cite another quote that she says, "Hey, I just found out some crazy SHIT, and I'm just finding out right now." Nevertheless, they allowed Mrs. Ventura to continue to insist on cross she had witnessed this incident. They quote her saying, they said, I guess that means question, "And you testified that you saw him throw her into the balcony patio furniture, right?" Yep. He brought her back over the balcony and he threw her down. She persisted in the story even after she was confronted by the text messages. So they tell them to see where they questioned her at. Question, "Isn't it true that you learned about the incident on the balcony after the fact?" Her answer was, "I saw what I saw, so I do not know." Question, "Have the government in your preparation of your testimony in this case gone over the messages with you?" Answer, "Not this one, no." Thus, the government left the jury with the false impression that Miss Ventura saw Mr. Combs dangle her friend over the balcony, and this made her fearful of him. When in fact, if there was any incident, Ventura merely heard about it afterward, considerably lessening any probative value as to the state of mind. Next, the government doubled down by presenting perjury testimony from Bonagolian intended to corroborate Ventura's false testimony. Bonagolian claimed Combs lifted her up and held her feet on the balcony railing, and that this caused injury to the back of the legs and back and neck pain. Bonagolian was very definitive about these charges, in particular the bruises to her leg, which was one of the details that stuck out in her mind. As the government also know, like other witnesses in this case, Ventura and Bonagolian have been in frequent contact at key points and have had many opportunities to collaborate on their stories. And in fact, Bonagolian admitted the two friends discussed the incident before and after Ventura filed her lawsuit. Bonagolian also had an enormous financial motive to lie because she filed a $10 million lawsuit against Mr. Combs. Basis on this same allegation, and will benefit by exaggerating the scope of her injury to obtain damages. Her account makes no sense and seems to be physically impossible. Mr. Combs is only about 6 feet tall, and even if he is bigger than her, well, I mean, what do you have to be? 9 feet tall? Yeah. He is not tall enough to have been able to hold a shorter adult by her armpits so high that her feet would have been on the balcony railing, as Bongolian testified. Well, depending on how the balcony was designed, because some balconies have railings on the top and on the bottom of the actual balcony railing. Some of it just be like just one single bar. Some of it be a bar on top, a bar on bottom, and a bar in the middle. So if he's holding her up under her armpits, close to her breast, and he is 6 feet tall, plus probably 6 feet something. I mean, the man don't have to be 7 or 8 to pick up somebody who's 5'4", 11, or 5'2", or whatever she is, because she's little and quite petite, really lightweight. He can physically pick her up and hold her with his strength over a balcony. Yes, he can. He doesn't have to be taller than the balcony in order to make this happen. But I digress and continue. He is not tall enough to have been able to hold a shorter adult by her armpits so high that her feet would have been on the balcony railing, as Mongolian testified. California law requires railing to be a minimum height of 42 inches. Well, did you go at that particular room and measure that railing, sir, in order to qualify this for your mistrial that you are purposely making up a concoction of bull crap to try to get? This is ridiculous. Question: where did you go after you left Cassidy's apartment? Her answer: I went to my apartment. Question: where did you do at your apartment? Her answer: I was shaking a lot, and then I wanted to take a shower because I felt disgusted, and then I looked over behind my legs and I saw a huge bruise. Well, question: well, talk about the bruise in just a moment. Miss Mongolian, do you remember all the details of the incident that night? Her answer: no. Do the details that you've talked about stick out in your mind? Her answer: yes. Question: what, if any, physical injury did you have as a result of that night? Answer: I had that big bruise was like a piercing in the middle of it. And then I had back and neck pain and I see a huge bruise. Question: we'll talk about the bruise in just a moment. Miss Mongolian, do you remember all the details of the incident that night? Her answer: no. Well, question: does the details that you talk about stick in your mind? Answer: yes. Question: what, if any, physical injuries do you have as a result of that night? I had that big bruise was like a piercing in the middle of, then I had back and neck pain. And the government next introduced photography of the injuries Ms. Mongolian supposedly sustained at the hands of Mr. Combs. A photo depicted the leg injury taken on September 26, 2016 at 9:45. Mr. Mongolian testified that she took the pictures of her leg injuries around the time. Indicated in the exhibit, and he tells the exhibit, that she did so the same day as the incident, and that she would GO that injury from being thrown on the balcony furniture. On cross, she confirmed that the balcony incident happened early in the morning and that the photo of the leg bruise was taken later that day, and that the injuries to her back and legs happened the same day. And they cite another one. The government then introduced photographs of the injuries supposedly sustained at the hand of Mr. Combs during the incident. The government knew, or should have known, that this testimony was perjury and that Ms. Mongolian could not possibly have been injured by Mr. Combs on a Angeles balcony in the early morning hours of September the 26th, or even the day before that. The government has long known that Mr. Cohn was on the East Coast in late September, and specifically at around the time of the alleged incident. The government knew that he had stayed at the Trump Hotel in New York City between September the 24th and 2019. In fact, the government had marked as GX7Y111 the record of the hotel stay, which are now in evidence. And it has had other evidence in the possession for some time, showing Mr. Cohn's travel schedule and providing that he was on the East Coast when it told the jury and providing that he was on the East Coast when it, who is it? Meaning she? Wow. When it told the jury he dangled Mr. Mongolian over a balcony in front of Miss Ventura. Okay, so since we want to get all technical, maybe we need to throw this out for calling people it's. You know who she is. And let's briefly talk about the situation where he was on the East Coast and this was happening in far across the other side of the United States in her apartment. He was in that hotel at the Trump Hotel under the alias Frank Black, okay? It has been shown on several testimonies that during these freak-offs that he will take off from the freak-offs and then leave, and someone would be there recording everything where he can continue to watch while he's off somewhere else. So even though he did have an event the day before, it's very highly impossible that he got on his jet, you know, the one that he's renting out for $4 million still to this day, got on his personal jet, flew back to Cassie Cassie apartment, and whoever, you know, her friend at Cassie's apartment, and got upset and then dangled her across. Because there's no physical proof. There's no video. There's nobody saying that they saw him there and snap, I took a picture with him and it's dated for that time and date to show it was actually him. It could have been one of his employees. It could have been somebody that him and his KK, and I'm saying it could have, I'm not saying it is. It could have been KK ordering some food to give him an alibi, just in case something happened and he needed to say he was here when he was really there. Not saying that it was for this incident, but for something else. This man is corrupt and crazy, and he got everybody working for him. So unless you have solid proof that he was there, and I mean real solid proof, not an alias saying Frank Black, because that didn't say it was P. Diddy. Although we know P. Diddy go by Frank Black, we also know from previous testimonies that Frank Black has ordered prescription and really it was somebody else acting up under Frank Black for P. Diddy. So, yeah, just another way you're trying to twist things to try to get the trial kicked out, sir. What's more, when the defense began to expose the perjury on cross-examination, the government repeatedly attempted to disrupt the cross with unfounded objections and requests for sidebars. Then they give the citing. And unfounded claims, such as the proper leading questions meant defense counsel was testifying. Then, despite having elicited Ventura's false testimony about having directly witnessing the alleged incident, the government persuaded the court to omit the hearsay text with Gorham describing what Ventura had found out that someone else cited this testimony from Ventura claiming she saw the alleged conduct. All of this while highly improper and exacerbated the harm caused by awarding the perjury testimony. It bears emphasis that the use of perjury testimony regarding the balcony incident is just one example of prosecutorial misconduct during the trial. The defense moved for a mistrial based on the improper line of questioning related to the 2012 destruction of fingerprints provided by Scott Muscardy to the LAPD, and that, by the way, is Kid Cudi. As the courts will recall, the defense argued that the government motive in inciting this testimony was to create an unfounded and highly just influence that Mr. Combs somehow had corrupted arrangement for the destruction of the fingerprints. The government claimed that was not the purpose of the question. He gave the citing on what the government says that, and the court denied the motion. So why are we bringing this back up? Though the court denied the motion, and you bring it right back up to the same judge. And instead gave a narrow limiting instruction. Now, if you wanted to appeal all this and do this in an appeal, okay. But the judge already gave his ruling on that, and yet you stuck that back in here. However, it became apparently shortly thereafter, during the questioning of Mia the very next day, that in fact the government's motive all along must have been to suggest that Mr. Combs had corrupted influence over the LA authorities when it tried to create the impression that he was responsible for the destruction of the fingerprints. So you're trying to say something was hearsay, all while including something that is hearsay in your mistrial statement, saying that apparently don't mean definite. Therefore, during the questioning of Mia the very next day, that in fact the government motive, how do you know what their motive was if y'all was saying that it was not? And the judge said it wasn't either. All along must have been to suggest that Mr. Combs had corrupted influence over the LA authorities when it tried to create the impression that he was responsible for the destruction of the fingerprints. Specifically, the government incited testimony from Mia about 2 incidents in which the LAPD did not issue a ticket for speeding after she was pulled over. So you want a mistrial because the officer that pulled Mia over for speeding didn't give her a ticket. I mean, God darn, what else are we going to throw inside this thing for a mistrial? Let's have a mistrial, Your Honor, because when I went to go get my burger at Burger King, they forgot to put my cheese on there. So because of that, we're going to strike this from the cause. I mean, are y'all serious? Because the LAPD that pulled her over for a ticket didn't cite her for the for her speeding. So that proves something was going on within the organization because of okay. In one case, Mia got pulled over speeding, name dropped, that her boss was Mr. Combs, and got him on the phone. And after which the officer was saying, like, oh my God, Puff Daddy, I love you. Like, just went into the whole very excited conversation. And then she let me go. So just because an officer decides to let her go, and you know, it's up to their discretion or not, as long as they ain't running through the system, whether or not they want to go forth with it or not. His decision to let Mia go from a speeding ticket is why we need to create a mistrial for P. Diddy and all the stuff that he did. Are we fishing or are we not fishing? The second time Combs was in the car, and once they saw Puff, they were like, oh, my bad, yeah, and left us alone. The prosecutors took special care to emphasize that these incidents occurred in Los Angeles. Cited it again. Question, what city did these interactions with the police occurred in? Answer, LA. These incidents in isolation even seem like benign examples of police giving lieutenant treatment to popular, famous people. So because the cop did it, we need a mistrial. And when the jury can't see what the cop was doing by simply hearing what they said, it requires a whole mistrial. Yo, this is stupid. The incident, okay, I think I said that, coupled with the sinister implications of the fingerprint destruction, however, they created a strong implication that the reason Mia and, as the government would surely argue, other alleged victims didn't go to the police was because of Mr. Combs' corrupt influence over the police and the LAPD in particular. In other words, the subsequent questioning of Mia, even if itself permissible, further corroborates that the government's real purpose in its questioning of the fire inspector, Lance Jimenez, was to improperly suggest that Mr. Combs corruptly caused destruction of the fingerprints. And this constitutes another instance of prosecutorial misconduct. According, the court shall grant a mistrial based on prosecutorial misconduct. So you literally named everybody in this mistrial petition to have all their evidence, everybody, thrown out because everybody was lying and the prosecution was making everybody lie. This is what you're hoping to get a mistrial on? That everybody's lying except for P. Diddy? That's basically what you're saying here in this proposal of a mistrial. Respectively, Alexandria E. Shapiro. What in the holy crap are we doing here? Everybody, now including the prosecution, are all liars. And the only person that's credible is P. Diddy, the one who's done all this stuff to all these people. Now, if this go through, this is a slap in the jurisdictional face. If this go through, this is a slap in our judicial system face. This is a slap to everybody who has ever been in a crime that they were the victim of. If you allow this foolery, and they need to find some type of loophole to go after his defense for trying to waste the court's time with this crazy behind mistrial petition. Crazy. End of the day, they know if they get a mistrial, ain't nobody in the United States of America is not going to have been seeing all this stuff that has been transpiring for the past 4 weeks. So how in the world are you going to get another jury that is completely biased of this case? Judge, do justice the correct way and then penalize these attorneys. As always, be your brothers and your sisters' keeper. Keep God first. Lord, please pray for our legal system. And toodles.